Hi. Hey, Lauren, Dave.
Hi,
there,
everybody.
everyone. Great to see you. Good afternoon. Happy Thursday afternoon, everybody. Yes. Familiar faces. Deborah, good to see you.
Good to see you, Shannon.
David, hello.
Hey.
Hi there.
Hi.
Yes. Wonderful.
Terrific.
People are filing in. Looks like we have not quite everyone yet, so I'll kind of stall a little bit as we begin. It's so great to see everybody's faces, though. Quite a year we've had. Can you believe that it's already almost November? That just blows my mind in a lot of ways. I hope everyone here has been doing okay, staying safe with all the craziness in the world, and every day you just don't know what to expect. So yes, and that's a reason why we're here today as support group leaders, and just wanting to come together, see how everyone is doing, how we can work together, connect, share ideas, and how we can be moving forward in this uncertain time. So I'm just so happy you're here. I think that we might take this opportunity. Hopefully we'll have our last handful of folks join us in a minute, but how about we rename ourselves? It looks like Judy already did that. Thank you for doing that. So if you can put your first name or whatever you like to be called, and then where you're from. So Lauren, she has her at PD Buzz, and I think Lauren, remind me what city you're in?
Mission Viejo.
Mission Viejo. Okay, yes. So if anyone does not know how to rename yourself, you're going to go to your own image. You're going to hover your mouse over your own image. Click on that 3 dots in the right-hand top corner with the ellipsis. A little menu pops up. There's an option to rename. So you can put your name, first name, and then the city in which you live, or if you are part of an organization that you'd like to represent today. So I am zooming in from Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's nice to see you, Andrew and Linda. Yes, it's been a while since I've seen you on one of our Monday trainings, but great to have you here. And Dave, yes, yes, you're both in Mission Viejo. That's wonderful. Okay. And wow. Okay. So is that Edna? Yours is so long. I lost your first name, but I'll remember. Excellent. Good. And then please forgive me. Is it Garija with a soft J-A? You're muted now. If you'd like to unmute and let us know how to pronounce your name properly. So I've asked you to unmute there. There you go.
I lost my picture.
You lost your picture, so you don't see any of the Zoom screen at all?
I see the Zoom screen, but not my picture, not my icon.
How strange. I see you very clearly on my end. Do you see all of our pictures? Everyone else?
Yeah, I see about 6 or 7 of you.
Okay, it might be something that, thank goodness I have backup. So Kelly, can you raise your hand and wave your hand, Kelly? So she will be able to help us throughout the workshop today and tomorrow with any technical questions. So maybe that's something that you two can chat about. So if you don't know how to use the chat feature, you can click on the chat, which is in the bottom menu on your Zoom screen.
Or maybe I can try to reconnect.
Yes, you're welcome to do that as well. Maybe it'll reset. When in doubt, reboot or get out and get back in. You know, we hit the on-off button a couple times.
Yeah,
and then,
I'll try that.
Magic wish, you know. So we do what we have to, right? With technology, it's always
We'll
exciting.
see you in a couple minutes if you do that, Garija.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. All righty. So,
and it looks like we have David, and who's in between you two?
Oh, yay. Who's the pupper?
This is Cookie.
Cookie. She'll be our mascot for the next couple days.
I love it.
As long as you feed him, he's happy.
Wonderful. So good to see you both. Excellent. All righty. So we are missing a few people, but we're just going to go ahead and get started. I've hit the record button if you hadn't seen that. So hopefully that's okay with everyone. This is going to be just for your reference. So we will be sending links to both days to you as attendees. It's not like we give these links to people outside, people who have not attended. And so you don't need to really, be worried about that. Let's see here. So we will be doing introductions. So we'll have a chance to learn who you are in just a little while. And if anybody else happens to come in late, we'll make sure and catch who they are. So I'm going to mute you. There we go, David and David. Okay. So I just wanted to quickly acknowledge we have a couple of PMD Alliance ambassadors here on the call. So we've got Lauren, and so if you want to wave, yes. So she's been an ambassador for us and support group leader extraordinaire. And it's the same thing with Dave Orlowski, who's also in Mission Viejo area. So thanks to both of you for coming today. And I wanted to also see just by hands, I believe Debbie for sure. Who here is involved with our pro Zoom account that we offer support groups so that you can hold your support group meetings online? Anyone else other than Debbie involved with that at the moment? No? Okay. And then lastly, some of you, I believe, attended our last in-person InSync workshop, which was in Irvine. And I looked back at the calendar. It's July of 2019, if you can believe it. It's almost 2.5 years ago. So I think the Davids were there. Is that true? Was anyone else in attendance live at that live InSync workshop? So Lauren, you were there as well.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's been so long.
I don't remember. I usually go to those things.
Yeah, I think you were
Too
there.
long
Dave.
ago.
We're always
It
there.
is. It's such a long time, but anyway, I just thought it was, exciting that this is going to be our first virtual version of the InSync workshop for the Southern California area. And if you haven't learned just by reading people's names here or labels, that we incorporated both the Los Angeles area down through San Diego area. So we're all over the Southern California region. So why don't we go ahead and I get started. I will just introduce myself quickly. My name is Shannon Elliott, and I am the manager of our InSync network, which is our program for support group leaders specifically, who happen to be running support groups for all kinds of movement disorder support groups or movement disorders. So not just Parkinson's, it can be other kinds of movement disorders as well. We have online programs. We used to have our in-person workshops. We have lots of resources and toolkits, ways to support you. So just know that if there's anything that you ever need, that I would love to help you in any way possible. And again, I'm in Santa Fe, and I've been with PMD Alliance for, I believe, just over about 3 years now. So it's just great to be here with you today. I'll pass it on over to Rachel to introduce herself as our next staff person.
Hello, everybody. I am Rachel Steinberg. I am the Community Network Manager here at PMD Alliance. I've been with the organization for about 1.5 years. And I'm an adult child. My father had atypical Parkinsonism, and I facilitate our care partner and adult child support group and help co-facilitate all of the other support groups that PMD Alliance has. They're called online communities because they're peer-led, and I am one of the peers. So I'm happy to be here and happy to share knowledge and information and have some fun with you guys.
Thanks, Rachel. Let's move on over to Miss Kelly in Nashville, Tennessee.
Exactly, in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kelly, and I'm the online programs coordinator If you've joined any of our NeuroLife online programs during the week, you've probably seen my little square box up at the top of the screen. I'm on a lot of those, and I typically am doing kind of behind the scenes, helping to make sure that Zoom is working properly for all of us on both ends, and I am happy to be here as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. I am going to start sharing my screen so we can get going here. Hopefully you can see that okay. All right. Is that coming through okay? My slideshow? Excellent. Okay, so we're excited to get started on our 2-day workshop, 3 hours today, 3 hours tomorrow. And yes, so feel free. That's a long time to be sitting. If you need to stand up, if you need to move around a little bit, hopefully you have a glass of water or some sort of beverage to keep you hydrated. Hopefully you did get the preparation email that was sent a couple of days ago. It had some materials for you to open on a PDF format and go ahead and print. So if you have those materials ready, just go ahead and have those next to you in a pen or a pencil. And yes, let's go ahead and get rolling here. So I'm just going to begin by sharing what we call our collaboration agreement. So this slide, it points out some of the expectations of all of us as we move through the workshop together, how we all agree to approach our interactions and make sure that it's respectful and productive and getting everybody on the same page. So of course, we can't begin this without saying muting your mic when necessary. And on the other, everyone is already muted now, which is great, but we do want lots of interaction and engagement in this workshop. So it's definitely not a didactic thing where, we're just going to be, blah, blah, blah the whole time. We want to hear from you. So feel free to unmute when necessary as well, when you have something to say, something to contribute. Just a reminder, as always, to listen deeply to one another, being very present and hearing what others have to say. And then on top of that, using the strategy from improv, acting improv, saying, yes, I hear you, and I have this other idea to build on top of that. We just love that positivity as we move forward in our workshop. And then this one down here, my favorite, rollerblader with the shorty shorts on, moving with intention. So it's amazing how fast the 3 hours goes. So just to be mindful when we do have things to contribute, that a lot of times we just need to make sure everyone has a chance to share. And then finally, last but not least, being patient with technology. So, and being patient with me, please, because sometimes I make mistakes on Zoom and I hope that I won't just inadvertently close down the meeting. If so, just log back on. If you do have any issues with your own computer or Zoom or whatever it is, Kelly is our lady. So go ahead and chat with her privately and we can solve problems. And just before I move on, can I see any hands of people who are not that familiar with Zoom? A lot of us have been on Zoom a million times since COVID started, but if anyone hasn't, please go ahead and let me know now. Okay, so we're pretty familiar with where to find the buttons, how to mute, unmute, turn your video off and on. You're welcome to turn your video off if you need to have a private moment, just to get yourself together or stretch or do whatever you need to do. Just go ahead and take advantage of all those features that we have in Zoom. And I just wanted to remind you all as well, in the preparation email that you received, there was a link for what we call our InSync support group leader agreement. And so that's just something to read as far as the expectations of what we hope from you and what we hope from us and how we want to have a real relationship moving forward. And so that's just something that you electronically sign by clicking a box at the bottom. So hopefully you've been able to find that and submit that. That would be wonderful. And
It looks
let's-
like David and David are raising their hand.
Oh.
So if you guys have a question, let's try to handle it now before we move on.
Yes.
Actually, just a comment I can't help not making. That is the most relevant, well thought out, real collaboration agreement, whatever you want to call it, that I've ever seen. So thank you.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for that. I
That's
appreciate
really
that.
nice. Thank you.
I think I've been to more online workshops than I could ever want to at this point. And so, you know how you just crowdsource and you learn, you're like, oh, I like that. I'm going to use that. And so that's exactly what I've done. And so thank you for that. And if you have any other ideas, anything that I could throw in there, I'd be open to do that as well, if it's relevant. Okay, so what is in sync? That's what we call our support group leader network. I like to start our workshop off with that question, like, what does it even mean to be in sync? Why do we call it in sync? And so there are many ways to be in sync. And first of all, we can be in sync with our fellow support group leaders here on the call, basically your peers, so that we can all be on the same page. We're very unique in what we do. And so we might as well join forces and learn from one another. We can also be in sync with our group members. So those of us, or those people who look to us for support and reliable information as they're traveling along their journeys of having a movement disorder. The larger community, so we can be in sync with international, national level community where we can find resources to help us and create connections. So that's also very important. We can be in sync with our loved ones, with our family and friends, people who are going along this journey with us. And then last but not least, being in sync with yourself. So really having that confidence, that self-assurance that you are embodying your role as a support group leader in the best way that you can as a unique human being and individual. And so we love for just to see the range of all the folks who join us each time and what you all bring to the table and how we can be inspired by one another. So hopefully, yes, welcome to this workshop where we hope that you will gain skills and confidence and resources to help you grow and sustain your group and your local community. That is why we are here. And I would love to not just talk about being in sync, but also do it. How could we do that? So a little warning, I am a dancer, my previous life, 20 years of dance. And so I love to move. And that's how I got involved with the Parkinson's world, is teaching dance for Parkinson's classes. And so what I really like to do is just embody what it means to be in sync with one another. And I do that. I like to use an exercise called mirroring. Has anyone here ever done mirroring? Yes, Davids, all three Davids. So I can describe this a little bit for you, and hopefully we'll have some fun doing that. So just the basic guidelines for mirroring. It's like we're looking into our screen here and we're pretending that we're looking into a mirror. Right. And so if I happen to be the leader for the first part of the exercise and you're the followers, you would see me and then you would follow me as if you're looking in a mirror. And so it's perfect reflection back and forth. And a couple of guidelines here. So there's no talking. So I need to just zip it when I demonstrate. So it's all nonverbal communication. It's really helpful that mirroring includes slow and sustained movement instead of fast. And, people can't keep up with that, right? So you want to have it nice and slow and people can follow and really be in sync with one another. And it's really important to watch closely. If we were in person, we could have better eye contact, but just really being focused and then following the movement as closely as possible. And then I just mentioned it a little bit, but there's a leader role, a follower role. And then when it gets really fun is when there's no clear leader or follower and it just morphs. So it goes back and forth and it's really, you have to be so present and just engaged to manage that kind of experience. So that being said, if you are in a space where you need to maybe push yourself away from a table, like I'm going to push myself back a little bit so I have some more room for my arms. We're not going to get crazy. We're just going to basically use this bubble right here. So if you could make sure you're not going to knock over a glass of water or a lamp or anything like that, so we can practice being in sync with one another. We have a special theme. I don't know if you happen to know what holiday is coming up this weekend. Anyone? Yes, Linda. She just embodied it perfectly. So I don't know if you saw, she went like this. It's Halloween this weekend, so that's going to be our theme. I have some spooky music to use in the background. And P.S. Start thinking about everything that we do in this workshop is basically a model of what you can do with your groups. Okay, so if you're ever thinking like, okay, I wonder why we're doing this, most of the time it is for us to engage and share with one another, but it's also a way for us to see what's possible and what you can steal and utilize for your group meetings, right? So hopefully this might be a fun exercise for you if it's new to you, and you can start to explore this in your groups. So I'm getting my music ready here. And hopefully, is everyone ready to move? Yes. So Kelly, if you could please spotlight me as we begin so that it's easier to see my movement. Okay, great. Yes. So now you can see me pretty well. Yes? All right, good. I am going to turn on the spooky music. All right, can you hear? All right, I'm going to zip it and we're going to do some mirroring. All right. We get to have some volunteers. Who wants to lead our spooky movement? Anybody? We want volunteers. I know, not everybody at once. Who's brave out there? Let's see, I'm gonna put you in gallery so I can see you. I'm gonna be choosing people here pretty soon if we don't have volunteers. Nobody? Yay, David Higgins, David Miles. Yes, here we go. We're going to spotlight you, paying attention very closely to the spooky movement. Here we go. Yummy. I had some candy. I don't know about you. Lots of chocolate. Thank you. All right. Who else wants to go? Thank you very much. Who
I
else?
believe Andrew.
Andrew. Let's give it a whirl. Let's spotlight Andrew. Here we go. Yay! Woohoo!
That was scary, Andrew.
That was scary. Oh my goodness. It was the combo of his movements and his background with the mountain in the back. And it was like, like he was falling backwards in the mountain. Oh
Like
my
Twin
God.
Peaks.
That was great. Okay, thank you for playing. So, we have now unspotlighted, and just so you know, Zoom wise, we have to physically go back to our gallery view. So, top right hand corner of your Zoom screen, you'll click on that view button and hit gallery to see everybody again. Okay, good, good, good. Excellent. Do we have any feedback on how that felt to you? Any experiences that you had enjoyed or something that surprised you?
I think for me personally, it released me from any responsibility. I had no responsibility for what was going on. I was simply copying somebody else.
Nice. Love that. Yes. And that, so no responsibility. And how did it feel to watch someone else and be so focused on them?
Escape, calm, getting rid of anxiety. I didn't have to care what anybody else thought about our performance because it wasn't our performance, it was his performance.
Right. Yes, and so expressive too. Thank you. Thanks for that. Anyone else have any reflection on that exercise and how it feels? Does anyone feel maybe that they get a glimpse inside of that person who is leading the movement? Maybe a little peek inside their brain to see what they have to say, even though it's not language. Yep, connection like that. Anyone else have anything?
I think Andrew must like horror movies. And the Davids were like kicking back, watching the movies, eating snacks. And I enjoyed that.
I got trick-or-treaters. That's what I got out of the Davids. Linda, yes.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good icebreaker if, support group leaders are willing to do that, because it, like David says, it involves other people and it gets them to feel comfortable and, just kind of laugh. And plus it's movement, which, we really need.
Absolutely. You're hitting it right on the head there, Linda. Very good. Yes. So I'm going to share my screen again. And
Andrew, I think Andrew just wanted to say
oh,
something.
did you have something to say?
Yes, I think if you get other people involving, that kind of movement, and then you can play off each other, and have a lot of fun. Just
Mhm.
feel like movie making. It is a good icebreaker.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for saying that. And yes, the playful aspect, the fun, gets people engaged right off the bat. It gets, if you have partners, then it maybe doesn't feel quite so overwhelming to be in front of a group and having to lead. And so it's a little more intimate. So there are lots of ways you can utilize mirroring at different scales to make people comfortable, but I wanted to share these benefits of mirroring, including building presence and awareness of nonverbal cues. So the presence part, a lot of times people are coming in from the outside world, walking in, and it's a way for them to be in this space and time and not be thinking about everything else that happened. And so they're very present. And then the nonverbal, that's very important for us to clue in to what's going on with others, especially as support group leaders. Sometimes we have to read between the lines. We have to sort of, be empathetic and intuitive in ways that requires really focusing in on people and their nonverbal communication.
Shannon, this.
Yeah.
For me, when I think of mirroring, I think of verbal mirroring, and I think of repeating back to you something you said to me, and the purpose being of that being to make sure that I heard you correctly and am following you and paying attention to you. So this is nonverbal. This is physical. Is there some way you can use that, the exercise that we did, as a lead in to the sort of verbal mirroring that's so important?
Wow. So that's interesting. The verbal mirroring, that's something that as facilitators for groups, it's helpful to respond when you've heard someone say something and then you mirror it back. It's like, yes, did I get this right, sort of thing. I've never seen like I'm sure there are many vocal, theatrical, improvisational exercises that you can do that involve more of verbal exercises, which I'm not actually an expert at. I'm more in the body, but we could look into that if anyone has any ideas or has experienced anything like that with verbal. Call and response might be a fun thing, and similar to what Linda said about moving and how important that is. We also know that using our voices with Parkinson's and movement disorders is so important. So yeah, why not? Do both. That's great. Going back to the list here, so enhancing emotional understanding and empathy for others, which I kind of touched on already. And again, because of sometimes the facial masking that goes on with Parkinson's, we have to look a little more closely, don't we? So just to keep that in mind. And then at the bottom here, many things are encouraged, including cooperation. So working as a team, concentration, good for our brains, creativity. So anyone who's leading the movement, they are the ones in charge, right? So it takes expression and creativity and thought. And then using both sides of the brain, which we know is super helpful for people coming to our support groups. So that's, I'll get off my soapbox of mirroring and we can move forward. So hopefully you can take that with you and maybe enjoy that in your groups. Obviously you can do it here on Zoom like we've just done, or you can do it in person a little more easily. Okay, so we are going to hear from Rachel just a tad about PMD Alliance. Is there anyone who's brand new to PMD Alliance? You've never seen anything we've done before? I feel like all of us are a little familiar, so we don't have to go quite as in depth, but just want to make sure you are aware of this, this infographic that we have.
Yes. So you guys are all PMD Alliance experts, I can tell. But as you may already know, our main focus is the ecosystem of the person with Parkinson's. And so we believe that through our work and through all of the things that we do for all of these networks. So the family network, the companion network, support groups, which is what we're doing now. We're working with medical network, all of the team of doctors to get involved. And we believe that with boosting up and empowering those networks of people, they will then in turn be able to allow that person with the movement disorder to live a more full life. And so our philosophy is to boost up the community around that person. And so this what we're doing here, an NSYNC support group leader program that we have is ultimately what we feel that we could do to affect the most people. By us supporting the support group leaders, those support group leaders can then support their community of people living with the disease, their care partners, all of the people that go to the support groups. And so this is our best way to help that part of the community. And so we're really thankful and grateful for these volunteer support group leaders that we have in our community, because we're giving you the tools to then go out into the community and work with everybody. So that just gives you a little perspective of why you guys are so important and how you fall into this ecosystem.
Thank you, Rachel. And I just wanted to acknowledge too that we have Judy here, and I think Sarah, I'm not sure if she's able to have her video on, but you're from an actual organization. And so sometimes we have professionals who join our support group leader trainings. And so we just wanted to acknowledge you as well, and that you're part of this ecosystem. Absolutely. We thank you for your participation as well. Perfect. Let's see. Let's go forward, and I am going to start a little poll. So we like to do polls sometimes to capture information about who you are, what you're interested to learn. We can get to know each other a little bit in a quick way, and it's just a nice tool that Zoom offers. So it's fun. I enjoy doing polls. So let's see if I can launch it from here without stopping my screen share. If it doesn't work, I will fix it. So see how this is coming through. It's working okay. All right, so we've got 3 questions today. What do you want to prioritize in your support group meetings moving forward? All right, so we've got educational content, guest speakers, emotional support and sharing, or a combination of the above. We've got second question. How important is it that your group members know each other? Really important? Kind of important, or not that important to you? And then lastly, what do you think makes your group gel? What's that special sauce? Is it sharing refreshments, the coffee and cookies? Is it casual chatting before and after a meeting? Is it deep discussions during your actual meeting, or social activities that you might have planned where people can just get together and grab coffee or happy hour, whatever that might be? So hopefully you're able to work the poll okay. You do have to put your mouse inside the rectangle of your poll to be able to scroll up and down to see all 3 of your questions. It looks like we have 8 out of 13 who have participated so far. For question number 1, people are wanting a combination. They're wanting to offer their group members not only educational stuff or only guest speakers or emotional support and sharing. They want all of it, which is really great. How important is it that your group members know each other? It's leaning toward the important side, which is really underscoring the connection piece of groups and combating the social isolation that we're all experiencing. And then number 3, what makes your group gel? It looks like it's the deep discussions a lot of times during the meeting, which is very interesting, and then some casual interactions and such. So nice. Hopefully this is interesting for you to see where we all are as we begin and jump into some content in a little bit. So these are just questions to get us started, get us warmed up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results if you didn't see them. And I will stop sharing now, and we can move forward to our agenda for the week. So, or for the 2 days, it's not a whole week. That would be a lot. So today we're going to do introductions next, find out who you are. We're going to talk about the importance of connection and moving from a fear mentality to more of a growth mentality in a healthy way. And then we do have a roundtable coming up. So that'll be the middle part of our workshop today. We have pharmaceutical partner representatives from your area, from the Southern California area, who are going to join us in a discussion of some really interesting questions. We're going to do breakout rooms. You'll get to know them a little bit. And then they are going to be giving me their contact information after the fact so that you can later contact them for resources, and or if you want to have them come speak to your group, either online, in person, whatever you're doing. If you need more information about any of the medications or devices, that's why we're here. We want to connect everybody. Day 2, we're going to talk about the path to wellness. There's a really great model from the National Wellness Institute that I want to share with you. We're going to have another roundtable, and then we're going to talk about how to make our meetings more engaging and dynamic and fun. Okay, let's move to our introductions. So we like to call this popcorn. And so this is a fun way that you can have your group members be more in the driver's seat, I guess, of getting movement and flow going in a group. So it's not only orchestrated by one leader, by one person. So basically the way it works is that each of us is going to introduce ourselves in about 2 breaths. So what does that mean? Like 30 seconds. It's quick. And we're going to say our name and our city, the kind of support group that you lead, or if you are a support group leader in training, whatever it might be. And one thing you happen to be excited about, and that can be anything. It can be from your personal life. It can have to do with your support group or not, whatever that might be. So just a little glimpse of who you are, and then you get to choose the next person. So you're going to popcorn over to the next person to share. So we have to be really on our toes and listening and making sure we're paying attention to who's gone and all of that. So it's a different way to engage in this sort of thing. So we're going to clip along here. I'll do a little I'm going to actually, what am I going to do? I'm going to put this in the chat, and then I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see each other's faces. So I'm going to pull the chat up. Great. Oh, I'm seeing some of the chats for the first time. Thank you, Judy, for that message. And then Sarah, you got your video to work. Hooray. There you are. Okay. So these are the things that we want to hear from you about. I'm going to stop sharing. All right. So my name is Shannon. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am the manager of the support group leader network at PMD Alliance called InSync. And something I'm excited about is getting outside this weekend and kicking through some of the autumn leaves that have fallen on the mountain. So I'm excited about that. And I'm going to popcorn over to Rachel.
I am Rachel, and I am in Phoenix, Arizona. I am our community network manager, as I mentioned before, facilitating our care partner and adult children support group. And one thing I'm excited about is I'm driving to Kentucky for Thanksgiving next month to visit family, taking our 2 dogs on the road. Really excited. And I'm going to pass it on to Kelly.
Hello, I'm Kelly and I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm the online programs coordinator at PMD Alliance, and I'm excited to see my niece and nephew in their Halloween costumes. And I will popcorn it over to Lauren.
I'm Lauren Simmons, and I'm in Mission Viejo, California. We've got a general support group, caregivers and people with Parkinson's. And I'm excited because right now it's a virtual group. The thing I'm excited about is I'm hoping and praying that as of the first of the year, we're back in person. So hoping the COVID numbers stay down and our in-person meetings go up.
Great, fingers crossed.
And I will send it over to Andrew.
You're muted, Andrew.
Gotta unmute Andrew.
Hi,
You are.
I'm Andrew from Poway, which is in San Diego County. I'm not really a support leader so much. I'm a care partner that does participate in the North County Parkinson's Association support group. I also belong to one that relates to a Rock City boxing support group. So, I just want to learn more things about how I can help, in my own support group. And as far as something that I'm looking forward to is my wife and I, Linda, we're going to Marble Canyon to do some hiking later in November. So it'd be the first trip for us.
Hooray.
Wonderful. Who do you pass it to, Andrew?
Let's pass it on to Dave in Mission Valley, or Mission Viejo, sorry.
All right, Dave-o.
Hi, my name is Dave. I also live in Mission Viejo. I also help run the support group that, like Lauren said, is currently online, and we're hoping to go back in person in January if that works out. And that's what I'm excited about too. I'm excited the way the support group has grown from when we originally got started. We had like 6 people, and now we've got over 100. So we're excited about that in this context.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dave.
And
Who do you
I'll pass the ball to Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy. I'm the vice president of PCLA, and I run 7 support rooms a month. I do one caregiver support group. I do a weekly support group for people with Parkinson's and caregivers. It's really open, or any other care partner. And I do a bi-monthly support group, or bi-weekly support group on another day for people with Parkinson's. And I think what I'm excited about is that I have a podcast with a young onset Parkinson's person, Travis Robinson, called I'm Not Dead Yet. And we've hit over 1,000 downloads, and that's pretty exciting to me. So we're out there.
Awesome, Judy. Who do you pass it?
Terrific. Thank you,
And
Judy.
I'll pass it to Sarah King.
Thank you, Judy. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah King, also with PCLA. Pardon me. I'm our director of programming, and I also run our information and referral program. And I also run one of our support groups for adult children of a parent with Parkinson's. I am, what am I excited about? I'm excited about Halloween, which has never been my favorite holiday ever, but my kids love it, and they're excited to actually trick-or-treat again this year. So happy about that. I would like to pass it to 2 friends I haven't seen in person in way too many years, David Miles and David Higgins. Hi, Davids.
Hey, I'm Miles. I live in San Diego and lead the care partner groups for the UCSD Parkinson's Support Group Network. And I'm excited about my electric assist bike that's getting me all over town without looking like a puddle.
I'll go next. Okay. I'm David Higgins. I'm coordinator for UCSD's Support Group Network. We too started in 2012 with 6 people, and we now have over 400, pushing 500 people now. So it's a phenomenal responsibility. And like Sarah, I am thrilled to be in the presence of not only her, but Edna Ball, who two are the pinnacles of the local Parkinson's community.
It's great to see you, Sarah.
You too. Missed you guys.
Does
Wonderful.
this mean that you're passing it on to Edna?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's pass one down.
Okay.
By default.
Hi, I'm Edna Ballard Whittier. I'm married to the famous John Ball. That's how people know me, actually. And I'm 1/3 of the support group leaders in the San Marino support group that we have called START. And I never remember what all the letters stand for. It's START, whatever. And we have both people with Parkinson's and care partners. And we often have a breakout session for the care partners. And we met in person for the first time. So that was wonderful this month. And what I'm excited about, and Judy, you'll understand this, I have 3 doughs rising in the kitchen. I've become a COVID sourdough baker, and that was just so make my happy place. And I'm
I've
going
yet to start mindset.
I'm going to pass it on to Linda. Oh, mute.
You're muted, Linda. There you go.
I'm Linda from Poway. I don't facilitate support groups. I helped coordinate them, so I don't have to facilitate. We started a support group in our Rocksteady class that's been going on, and we're meeting live. So I kind of help plan it, and then I pick somebody to facilitate it. And then I help another group with the Zoom portion. And then now I'm helping Garisia at the North County Rancho Bernardo support groups. I just take the notes. But what I'm looking forward to is going to see my grandkids after Christmas. So that's for a week. Okay, Garisia, you're next.
I am Girija, and I'm also from Poway. And actually, Linda, you definitely do more than taking notes for the facilitating the group and all that. You're underestimating what you do. Thank you for all your work. I'm from San Diego, or Poway. I run a support group online support group for Poway Parkinson's Association. And also I facilitate a support group in Rancho Bernardo. And I'm really excited about the Halloween party I'm going to tomorrow. So you get to do some dressing up and go. That should be fun.
Sounds great.
Nice.
Thank you, Garisia. Who do you popcorn over?
Who would you like to pass it to?
Nancy.
Nancy, are you able to unmute, Nancy?
All right, Nancy from the car. Can you unmute?
I am not driving, just FYI.
Cool.
I'm due to land shortly. I'm Nancy Floodberg. I have a wonderful assistant here next to me who's doing the driving for John and me right now. It's John's caregiver. I am a care partner to John, who's a person with Parkinson's. I facilitate one of the nonprofits in San Diego Central County Parkinson's support group. We have 4 different support groups currently. One is a speaker series. One is a duopa therapy support group, very specifically focused on that. One is a support group that likes to chew on a very specific topic one at a time. And the other one is an open-ended support group. And I think I'm excited. I have our youngest grandson is 3. And he and I are going to be spending the day together in a couple of days. And I've made the decision that it's going to be at the New Children's Museum downtown, because I think both of us can survive that together. But we'll see what happens.
Good plan.
And let's see, I'm going to turn it over to Lorenzo.
Hello, I'm Lorenzo Higley. I'm a co-convener and care partner for my wife. When we survived our initial diagnosis and the shock, we found there was no support group for Parkinson's people out here in East County, so we started one. I'm in unincorporated San Diego County. close to the city of La Mesa. And let's see, I'm excited about the possibility of meeting in person in 2022. I think it's going to take at least that long. And I would like to hand it off to Tim.
So Tim just joined us. I believe Tim, I here for the round table. So welcome, Tim. And so we will wait to hear from you, if that's okay, until we have everyone arrive for the round table. And I believe we've got 2 people left to go, including Debbie, and then a gentleman under Parkinson's Association of San Diego, whose name I don't remember, or I can't see it, or
I haven't put it up yet, but my name is Chris Busher.
Okay.
I'm the executive director of the Parkinson's Association in San Diego. And we have the honor of convening all of the San Diego County support groups each month. We do that to help joint communication, avoid duplication of effort. And on our website, we have a complete compendium of information, the support groups calendars, and so forth. So very, very honored to do that. What I'm most excited about right now, and I mentioned it this morning at our meeting, I attended in Denver last week and a meeting where all of the major independent Parkinson's Association organizations were part of. There were 12 cities altogether present, territories, states, and so forth. And the information that they were able to share and best practices, it's really exciting for me, because that means now that I can bring that back to San Diego County and we can do things better. We can do things that we didn't do before. We can change things. We can really do more things to maximize our potential to help people in San Diego County. So
wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
Sure.
It's great news, what you're speaking of. So thanks for all the work that you're doing in that city and area.
Sure.
Okay, so I believe we have Debbie. Where did she go? My screen.
I'm here.
There she is.
I thought I escaped the session, but no, I'm Debbie Kummer. I live in Rancho Palos Verdes, and I run the Torrance Memorial Medical Center's Parkinson's Support Program, where we educate, resource, and support our team. And I am looking forward to getting back into the hospital again and meeting in person. I did take Lauren's suggestion months ago where we now meet at a park, but it's gotten, not today, got a little chilly on Saturdays meeting in the park. And unfortunately you have to go through dirt. So there's a problem. We're trying to figure it out. And it's getting a little bit harder on me as the older I get to be walking everyone individually with walkers. So but I'm hoping that the hospital middle of November will give us notification.
Wonderful. Thank you, Debbie. Great to hear that you've been able to get outside and see some folks in person.
And hi, Maya.
Hey, Debbie. So happy to see you here.
Good to see you.
Excellent. Well, good. Okay, we got through those popcorn introductions right on time. And so we are heading into our roundtable for this session. And so I just want to welcome, looks like we have Tim, Rosemarie, Maya, and Allison. I think that's all I see as far as our partner reps who've joined us today. That's great. So I'm Shannon, and I'm facilitating this InSync workshop for support group leaders, as well as Rachel here and Kelly, who is on staff to help with the technical aspects of things. So glad to have you. So we have support group leaders here from the Southern California region, both LA down all the way through San Diego. So this upcoming hour, this roundtable, we're going to be breaking out into breakout rooms. And so we have a chance to get to know one another a little bit better and talk about some really interesting topics and some ideas on just where we find ourselves in this new normal, whatever that means. And we'll dive into that a little bit more deeply after the roundtable. And so what I'd like to do right now is start off by hearing from each of our partner reps who've showed up today. So just say your name and what company you work for, and just maybe a sentence or two about, the medication or device. And then, we can get to know where you are, and just so you understand the process of this, after the workshop, I am going to be taking your contact information and then providing that to the support group leaders so that they can then contact you for resources. And if they'd like to have a talk, whether it be over Zoom or if they are meeting in person, and so you all can discuss that as need be. So why don't we hear from Tim first, since you came first. So
okay, the lucky one. Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here. So I am Tim Steele and I work for AbbVie Neuroscience. So we kind of fall in both categories as far as a device and a drug because we have Duopa. So if you're not familiar with it, it's a pump, almost like an insulin pump, but it delivers the levodopa carbidopa directly to the small intestine. So it bypasses the stomach where the pills are often not working. So I cover the San Diego Inland Empire area. My colleague Rosie covers LA, Santa Barbara, that whole area. So she's on as well. But it's a pleasure to meet all of you. And I know we've worked a lot with the support groups in the past, done presentations, things like that. So we're definitely available for that and any questions. So
thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming today. Rosemarie, would you like to piggyback?
I agree with everything that Tim said.
Approved.
Duopa is a wonderful treatment option for the right patient. It really does help some of the patients gain some independence. I'm actually participating in Moving Day Los Angeles this weekend for the Parkinson's Foundation. So I'll be out there with all those people walking this Saturday at Los Angeles Historic State Park. But we would love the opportunity to work with your group, and we're happy to support and help in any way we can. So thank you for letting us join.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, let's go to Maya, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to actually see your faces. Debbie, I just saw you, but it's always good to see everybody. So my name is Maya Gurin. I am the Boston Scientific Deep Brain Stimulation Rep in Greater Los Angeles. So we cover pretty much up to San Luis Obispo, down to Long Beach, and then Inland Empire. And there are a couple of us in the San Diego, Orange County area as well. So yeah, we've kind of partnered together on some things. And, as most of you know, DBS is a surgical therapy for patients when medications might not be working as well as they used to. So it's been really nice to kind of work with everybody about ways to introduce something as serious as surgical therapy. So we've gone creative all together on how to approach the group with talking about something like this. So I'm open to more suggestions and ways to work together. So thank you for having me.
Great, thank you, Maya. Nice to meet you. Okay, hi, Allison. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Sorry, I sat down and I was like, oh my God, I need some air conditioning in here. So I am Allison Miller. I'm with Supernus Pharmaceuticals. We have Apokyn, which is a self-injection for off episodes. We have Xadago, which is an MAOB inhibitor, and we have MyoBlock, which is now indicated for sialorrhea. Those are our products. And we used to be US World Meds. And I'm really involved in the World Parkinson Congress and the Parkinson Tulip Project. So
yes,
and I cover the whole nation for all the national and regional sponsorships.
Wonderful. So just, would you be the best person for these folks to contact?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we'll make sure that your name is on the contact sheet. That's
Okay.
great. Thanks, Allison. And we'll be mentioning this tomorrow in our second session. But Allison was very involved in the creation of what we call our I Am poem toolkit. And so it's a great activity that you can bring to your support groups. It's a creative writing activity. And we're going to be offering 2 trainings, one in November, one in December on that for you all, the support group leaders. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So thanks to Allison for that. And Joe, looks like you have joined. Welcome. We are, hi there. So we've got support group leaders here from Southern California area. I think you're from Neurocrine.
Yes.
Yes. So go ahead and introduce
Yes.
yourself and anything you'd like to say about what Neurocrine offers.
Sure. Thank you, Shannon. So Neurocrine is actually one of the few companies that's a commercial bioscience company that's actually based in San Diego, right off Del Mar Heights Road. So we're a local company to San Diego. I'm the national director for regional marketing managers. It's a new function that we have at Neurocrine. So I work alongside a couple of our advocacy folks, Todd Bledsoe and Chuck Harmon, that you may or may not know. And we have 2 products. We focus more in neurology, but you can check out our website at neurocrine.com and see our whole pipeline of products. We have Ongentys, which is an add-on therapy for Parkinson's. And we have Ingrezza, which is a treatment for people with tardive dyskinesia. It's usually a byproduct sometimes of being on anti-psych drugs.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for attending today, Joe. You may not have caught this. We are going to be going into breakout rooms. Okay, so
excellent.
yes, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we can talk about what's in store for our breakout session. Okay, you seeing this okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so for our roundtable, we've got 2 questions for you to ponder. So first of all, what do we miss the most about getting together in person? And so this question is obviously something you might have to fiddle with depending on your particular situation, with COVID and people who or certain groups who have gone back in person, as we've heard, whether it's outside, whether it's back in your old space where you used to be, which is pretty amazing. A lot of groups are still not ready for that step. So if you could think about that question within the context in which you're living it. So if you are back in person, what's amazing about it? Maybe how has it changed? How is it different than it used to be? And then if you are still on Zoom, or maybe your group hasn't met in a long time, then what is it that you're missing? And what are your support group members really missing out on right now? Second question is, what pandemic era invention do we want to keep? So you might have talked about silver linings, the crazy of COVID and pandemic, and then it's changed our lives, turned everything upside down. But perhaps there are certain things that we have realized or incorporated into our lives that you want to keep because it's actually maybe better in some regard. So kind of thinking from both sides of that coin. What are the positives? What are the negatives? And how can we mitigate those negatives and then uplift the positives and share those with one another and use them as tools and resources for each other. So we are going to take, let's see, we're doing pretty well on time. So we might actually do like 20 minutes with our groups. And so you'll all have enough time to share and really dig deep into these questions. Let me find it's always fun with multiple screens and sharing. So I think I'm ready to send this. So hopefully you got that in the chat. which you'll have access to the questions so that you can refer to them once you've broken out. And just as support group leaders, facilitators online, that's a little trick to remember, that once you've broken people out, it's really hard to communicate with them, especially as a whole. And so if you need them to know something, put it in the chat ahead of time, and then they have access to that once they've broken out. So we'll take about 20 minutes. I'll send you a halfway notice, and then I'll send you a little, 1 minute warning, and then the countdown will happen. Or what I'd like you to do is, in each of your rooms, if you could select a leader, so someone who's willing to take notes during your breakout room, and then as we come back to the main room afterward, that person will be the spokesperson for that group. Okay, so usually it's the more extroverted person who's taking that role, but just realize tomorrow it's got to be someone else. So share the responsibility, right? And that's another thing we have to remember as support group leaders. So yes, we'll come back and do our share backs in the main room. Luckily, we've got Kelly and we have Rachel, and so they are going to be taking notes during the share backs, and so you don't have to worry about taking notes on that. We will provide that to you as in our follow-up email and resources. Okie dokie. Let's check in with Kelly. How are you doing? She's our wizard, our breakout room wizard, as I've been blabbing away. I am going to stop sharing my screen so I can make sure and see everybody.
Hi, Shannon. I am just about ready, like 5 more seconds.
5 seconds, sure. So is everyone clear on the questions and what to do? Okay. And as we zoom back and forth between main room, breakout, back, you might be automatically muted. And so just to have your finger ready to unmute yourself so you can communicate and participate and know that that's going to happen. We try to avoid the Zoom breakout room whiplash as much as possible. So if you have online meetings with your members, just to keep communicating and saying, okay, I'm hitting the button now. You're going to automatically go over there to your other room. And then the same thing coming back. You can, as a host, type in little messages saying the rooms are closing. Be warned. And so they're not mid-sentence and then they feel like they didn't get their best thing out. That's always frustrating, and to be cut off right in the middle. So how are we doing, Kelly? All good for the breakout rooms? Perfect. All right. So I'm going to set my timer. I'll do a 10-minute warning. Have fun in there. And we'll see you on the other side. Fingers crossed.
Hey, it looks like we got one room back. So far,
yes. 2 seconds. 1.
All right.
There we go.
Now everybody's back.
All right. One piece, I hope. All right. Pixelated. Get really science fiction on this one. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope that was a nice time visiting in your breakout rooms. We are going to go room by room and hear from the leader of each, and see what you had to say. We'll take notes on our end, and just looking forward to hearing what you spoke about. So our first room had Andrew, Garija, and Rosemary. Who was your leader?
Me.
Rosemary. All right.
They were lovely, by the way. I love getting to, as a salesperson, we don't always get to see Parkinson's patients and their caregivers, especially now because of the pandemic. And it was an honor, really, and a blessing to meet people who are really, not only is Andrew caring for his wife, but Garija is suffering from the disease and doing beautifully. And so it's wonderful. So what we talked about is what we liked about in-person meetings. And so they liked that they were 1 time a month. There's something definitely special and tangible about in-person meetings because they get to interact easily with patients and caregivers and share their stories, their beliefs, what's happening in their own experience. They enjoy it, frankly, and they would chat about many things, not just their, challenges with Parkinson's disease. They also like the snacks.
Who doesn't?
And right, exactly. They liked the idea that you can have a speaker either on Zoom or in person at an in-person meeting, and that you can have breakout rooms where they had caregivers go into one separate room and actual Parkinson's patients in another room. So that was nice for them to be able to have that separation and share their beliefs, stories, tips, things that can help them. In terms of the pandemic, what they enjoyed most, and Garisha told me what was very important to her, is that telemedicine has really become very important to these patients because they don't always have the means to be transported, or they have difficulty, getting in and out of the car or getting to the doctor. So it's a convenient, easy way to have doctor visits, and they can go and have whatever tests need to be done and still, have a visit with their physician online, and it's convenient for them. And then the other thing they like about it is that it's really just become a means, something that we really didn't think about before the pandemic, because everything was in person. So it really it's helpful to them. The thing they don't like about it is there isn't the personal interaction. You don't get to see your physician, and you don't have a personal interaction with any of the nurses and the people that have been caring for you, and that there are no snacks on Zoom. The snacks. So as a rep, I know we were allowed to spend, I forgot what the dollar volume is, but as soon as we get in person, I will be bringing snacks to every meeting I go to.
Love to hear that. Great.
So that was what they had to say and share.
Excellent. Wonderful reporting there. Some really great ideas. I loved hearing about the meetings that start off as a general group, and then they split off into the subsets of care partners or the people living with the movement disorder. And I think that's wonderful. And that can also be done in a Zoom format. So that's really great. Yeah, so thank you for those ideas, group number one. Let's hear from second group, which are the Davids, Lorenzo, and Maya. Who is your leader, please?
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't talk about snacks, which I'm very sad about now, but we did kind of talk about pretty much everything that Rosemary mentioned. We did notice that what they've seen, what they kind of want to keep, post-pandemic is the ability for care partners to join more easily. They've all kind of noticed that care partners, especially for the people with the advanced Parkinson's disease, it was always so tough for them to carve out time and be able to join the in-person meeting. So the online platform allowed for more access to that. And they noticed as well, and I'm not sure we really talked about why, but the newly diagnosed people were a little bit more open to maybe meeting in person versus Zoom. So just kind of realizing that the online platform could open up opportunities for access and people to be seen and join, and how sometimes it didn't work for other subset of groups. But I think what they would want to keep now is also just the ability to join communities together. Like the Davids were talking to Lorenzo, and they were like, we all haven't seen each other and done stuff together. And, now with this online platform, we can, and we can bring, I think it was David who mentioned, we could bring a doctor from Rochester if they have a great, discussion topic to talk about. So bridging the communities together, I think is something that, you weren't able to really do, or wasn't really a focus pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm. Great.
I think that's such a good point, Maya, that you brought up about the care partners feeling like they're not able to leave their person. And the silver lining has been that you're able to join and just step into a different room and be able to attend these meetings. I don't know that that's ever been mentioned in any of our in-sync training workshops that we've done this year yet. So thank you, Maya. That's really important.
Yeah, that's a new perspective on it. I know that something I have heard from care partners of people who are a little more advanced is that they a lot of times use either, physical therapy sessions or support group meeting
Doctor's
times
appointments. Mhm.
so that they have a chance to run errands or do the stuff they need to do. And so that can be kind of the other side of the coin as well. Maybe why these care partners aren't able to attend in person as well, because they have other things they have to get done. And so, yes, if it's on Zoom, they can be in the same room at the same time and really share that experience and maybe hear each other and hear other care partners and other, just so that it's more community oriented, something like that. So that sounds, that's a good point that you brought up. I also heard, I know the Davids are really interested in collaboration. I've heard them talk to other support group leaders in different parts of the country saying, why don't we just join forces? And we have a great speaker. We've got a topic that I think is great. And so why don't we do it? That's awesome. That didn't used to happen. Yeah.
One of the things for about the last 4 years, we've had care partners, separate groups. And it used to be that they spun off physically when we were all together and then we go separate rooms. And the other half after the pandemic was they were in different days, different Zoom rooms. What we found is that there was some initial hesitancy towards embracing that. But then once they did, these people, you can't kick these people out of the room, the friggin' room. They would stay and talk for 4 hours.
Right.
And in fact, David's had a little bit of trouble making sure that new people that came in could insert themselves into the group. They were so, I mean, it's wonderful to watch. It's just wonderful. I mean, we've had a couple of deaths in the last couple of weeks, and that becomes a complete support system for the surviving spouse. I mean, it's just amazing.
Right, when they can continue on with the group. We've had experience with that in our PMD Alliance care partner group as well, that we run on Thursdays. So very good point. It can be ongoing support and they don't have to drive. It's just much easier for them to pop onto a call. So thank you for that. All right, thanks Maya for group number 2 reporting. Let's go to room number 3 that had Debbie, Joe, Linda, and Nancy, please.
Okay, we actually got started talking about what Joe represented from his professional end. So I just want to say on behalf of all of us, we really appreciate the opportunity to have that interaction. Great idea, and obviously only made possible by Zoom. That said, what did we miss? I think the essence of live presence. That was what seemed to be the key in terms of what we missed by not meeting together live. The energy, the social interaction, the spontaneity that comes with being physically together. And from our quietest, most demure participant, don't let her fool you. Her big contribution, Linda Wan, was partying. So, as I said, don't let her appearance fool you. She's the partier in the whole group. And then what to keep? The very first recommendation, PMDA leaders, was the PMDA webinars and how valuable they are and how much information they have provided everyone. And that those have been critical and essential, and that you guys really stepped to the fore and set an example for everyone in terms of how to do it intelligently, elegantly, and professionally, but with heart. So that's huge. And that we can go back and look at those videos, anytime we want. That the Zoom has allowed us to reach out to people in rural areas that might never have come to us, even live. the information that we've been able to glean from a Zoom meeting. There's really a tremendous breadth and depth of information that we've been exposed to, steeped in, and an awareness of how to use Zoom for those of us who might not have done that before. And Debbie's contribution was, I won't be getting called as often. Because when we're not live, then, what's one way people, especially those who, are not Zoomers, have to access support, information, resources, it's by phone. So definitely Zoom's here to stay, and we want to keep that. It's just finding that middle ground. Also, we were talking a little bit about mobile medical services and the awareness that those are out there that we can utilize, which maybe we wouldn't have thought about if we were still meeting live. But now see the benefit in how do we choose to expend our energy as people with Parkinson's, and how do we make Zoom accommodate that and other resources.
Wow, lots of silver linings that you just spoke of, Nancy. Thank you. Very positive. That's wonderful. And I'm glad to hear that the webinars or the NLO programs that we have been helpful. And yes, they're a great resource for later, because maybe you don't want to watch 5 live programs in a week. And so that Zoom overload is a thing. So you can pick and choose, have your real life interactions, and then pepper in your NLO informational, educational content as you're able, and then share those things with your support group members, and then have hopefully really interesting discussions and Q&A potentially coming out of those things. So that's really great. Something I wanted to, I guess, ask you, Nancy, to clarify for me, the mobile medical, is that different than telemed?
Very.
Okay.
And actually, when I said it, I thought, oh, that's not actually true, because we did have a live speaker series back in November where we had different mobile medical services present. As a function of that, I actually began implementing it. John needs a fasting lab draw every 6 months for one of his physicians. And John's my husband, once he was in a power chair, in a wheelchair, just getting him ready, getting him out, getting him to the lab, it'd be 10:30. That was the earliest, absolutely physically the earliest we could get there. And that's with no breakfast, because it's fasting. And then we'd be in the lab, and then we'd have to sit, and then they'd finally do the draw. And now he's really hungry, doesn't feel very good. And we've spent an entire morning getting ready to execute a 2-minute task. So that's what started my thinking about bringing in other mobile services, because we finally found out about a mobile lab that would come to us. And either I send in the order from the physician, or I have the physician send the order in. The phlebotomist calls me the night before and says, Nancy, you want me there at 7, 8? 8 will be fine. John puts out his arm. He may still be in bed. And in 10 minutes, she's in and out, and we're done. We are completely done. And I had a couple early in the pandemic who called me. They live out on the end of our Point Loma, a peninsula, 37 stairs up to the front of their house. She's 30 years out with Parkinson's. She fell, and they were pretty sure she'd injured her knee. So we were able to arrange mobile x-ray, because you need to know, what are you dealing with? Put them in touch with an orthopedist. He placed the order. Mobile x-ray carried all their stuff up the 37 stairs, x-rayed it. Yeah, she didn't have just a little problem. She had a displaced fracture of her patella. So mobile lab came, everything was done mobily before they then had to get out of the house and to the hospital for COVID testing, surgery. But that's a way to utilize that.
Wow.
Mobile
you.
podiatry, you name it. You can get just about anything mobile.
in a larger city, probably, but that's a wonderful resource to know about. Hopefully, if you didn't know about that's good to know. New to me. So yeah.
One other thing I will say, we now have, John has an office primary, but we have a mobile primary and urgent care. He comes to our house every single month to touch base, just get a feel for the lay of the land. Where are we? So in an emergency, that's who we would probably call.
I see.
Depending upon the situation, but lots of resources there. There's even guys COVID testing now available, at least in San Diego.
Wow, that's great.
Shannon, may I ask a question of the group?
Sure.
How do people feel about, and what experience have you had with trying to create highly specific groups? Spanish speaking, LGBT, all male, all female, young onset, newly diagnosed, et cetera. What experience have people had with that, and what would you advise?
I wonder if we can table that. Can we put a pin in that? And now that you all have heard this question, can you think on it, and we will allow time tomorrow to speak about that, and give it ample time. I think that's a very important question to ask, and maybe many of us have thoughts and things to contribute. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you.
We'll put a pin in that for tomorrow. Thank you. Great. Okay, so that, I believe, was room 3. Yes, it was. Okay, we've got 2 more rooms to get through and hear what you have to say. So we have Allison, Edna, Lauren, and Sarah from room 4. Who was the leader for room 4?
I'm just talking. I'm the one. Sorry, I was muted.
Did you forget?
So I think a lot of it has been covered, but I will say, as far as what's the most that we missed, it's definitely with all the sadness and the loss of some people, it was really hard not getting together and helping people in person, or being able to hug them and be there for them, or when people were going downhill because of COVID. That was really tough. And with the Zoom, it's usually, although this format's really awesome, it's a listen to one person. And when you're in person, there's little pockets of conversation. And I think basically just missing the feeling or connection with the people. And as far as newcomers, the one-on-one interaction and really making people feel welcome and recognizing them for coming, that sort of gets lost a little bit in the Zoom. And then we went right into inventions or silver linings, and it's being able to meet people all over the world and making really good friends, having more time at home, or more time to talk things out, connecting all over the county. And we did talk a lot about how hybrid will probably be here to stay, which is probably good, maybe a good balance, because we went from one straight over to the other. So it might be good to have that balance in there. And on the webinars, you can basically get a doctor from anywhere to speak. So it's nice to hear different physicians on that. Or if you've had trouble getting into a movement disorder, it's a lot easier to see a movement disorder doctor who may be further away. We talked about telehealth, which has been a great thing. And I know they were talking about, they were trying to get some Zoom done, like the support groups virtually, and they were having a tough time getting them going prior to COVID, but now it's like everywhere. So that was a good invention. And then of course, telehealth with the access, although I have to say that mobile stuff is awesome. I'm going to look into that as soon as we get off here, because I didn't even have that. So yeah, the telehealth. And then we talked about how rediscovering old hobbies or finding new ones. And we all had new hobbies that we found during that. And then we had a little extra time. So we just talked about fun webinars we watched.
Nice.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff in there. And I just want to underscore something you said, Allison, and Nancy alluded to it as well. Just the in-person energy, the stuff you can't replace with this screen, how important that is. I know I miss being in person with people terribly because of that reason. Just, yeah, the thing you can't, it's hard to articulate what it is. And so, yes, if you do have the capability of hybrid or of flip-flopping, offering your support group an in-person option for those who are able to get there and willing, and then also having a continual Zoom option for those people who can't, and then just being able to go back and forth and hit the different needs that people have. Just wanted to throw that out there as an option. You don't always have to think about it, a hybrid meeting, as having both at the same time, which is a little complicated technically. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Allison. Yeah. And telehealth. Yes. That's probably the big one, the big winner for the silver linings here. Great. Thank you. We have one more room, which was Dave, Judy, and Tim, please.
Tim, did you want to do it? Do you want to?
Oh, either way, it's
Go ahead. Yeah.
I've got some more notes, but yeah, a lot of what everyone else said. One thing as far as the pros, what we'd like to add is people seem more comfortable in their home environment. So they're willing to share and be more forthcoming with maybe some more embarrassing aspects of the disease, like, incontinence, things like that. That kind of came out. And David mentioned that they got a different mix of people on the Zoom versus the in-person. So good and bad, I guess, there. The people who were live, it was almost a completely different group who joined via Zoom, which I guess is good because you're getting more people out, but then you're also kind of leaving behind some of the other people who aren't maybe as comfortable with the platform, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think, Judy, did I miss anything, or is that kind of the gist of?
I think you're muted, Judy.
Oh, yeah, you're still on mute, Judy. There you go.
I just want to say a couple things. One of the interesting things with Dave, the innovation that he really created with this was he had his Zoom groups, and he did miss the social interaction, but then he set up something called a Saturday Zoom Cafe. And I loved this concept where they just get together on Saturday morning. And he said it's probably 7 or 10 people, the same people every weekend. And they just sit around and they talk, and it can be about sports or it can be about PD. But it's really been a wonderful way for people to interact. And his big fear is he's talking about going back in person. Is he going to lose all the people that from the extended areas that he's had people come to these support groups, and now he's going to lose them when they go in person? And that is one of his concerns. So he still has that angst, which I think is a very valid concern with it. Mm-hmm. And also they were doing hikes. They did start doing hikes. So I think there's been innovation that's come out of this, ways of being able to interact in a different way.
Mm. Love that. Thank you, Judy, for those extra tidbits there. I know that Lauren, also in Mission Viejo, she has done walking support groups. So they meet in a park, and people eventually sort of split off into different speeds, if you will, abilities, and but it's still a way to be together, to be outside, to be communicating and exercising, like all together. So I love that. Trying to think, you said something that I wanted to respond to, and it's gone.
I think the innovation that you mentioned about Dave creating this coffee talk thing on Saturday.
To be honest with you, I'm not the one who created it. It's someone else created it.
Oh, well, that you've carried on is terrific. And I feel like it kind of helps with one of the downfalls of support groups being on Zoom, which is the lack of being able to have that small talk before your meeting and after your meeting. So this is kind of allowing you to have that small talk during a different time. And I think that that's great. And I'm glad to hear that you're doing that and it's grown and become successful.
Thank you, Rachel. And yes, the 7 to 10 people, it sounds like might be a good sweet spot for everyone being able to participate. Everyone's heard and has an opportunity to talk. And then say it does grow, a group like that, you could do breakout rooms so that everyone again can talk, and you can mix it up. You even have the capability of people being able to choose what room they go into, and they can pop around as if they were in a dinner party or a casual in person, and they can move to different conversations. So just
you could have a sports breakout room and a foodie breakout room or something like that.
Right. Love that. Linda, you have your hand up.
Yeah, it just popped into my head when you guys talked about the cafe talk. We have a group that meet and we play Pictionary once a month using the whiteboard on the Zoom platform. And that's been really fun. Yeah. So we're challenging our mind by, using the mouse to draw with. And then online, there's actually a Pictionary generator that just puts out easy words, hard words, and medium words. So sometimes we play as teams, sometimes depending on how many people show up. But people have been having a lot of fun doing that. So that's another thing that you guys can do.
Great idea. Pictionary online.
I was just going to say, Shannon, we have a lot of fun in our group, the Zoom Cafe at times. We have one guy that used to play in a Merle Haggard band, and listen to him tell stories about traveling with Merle Haggard is a lot of fun. So we get a lot of fun out of it too.
Goodness, maybe he can sing you a song someday. Wow, excellent. Well, really great comments that have come out of these sessions today. Thank you so much for all that information. Again, we've got notes to provide you on all of these things so you can take them with you. I just want to recognize our partner reps who've come today. We have Allison and Tim, Maya, Joe, and where is she? There, where'd
Rosemary,
she go?
you should have dropped off.
Okay, Rosemary, yes. So thank you all so much for coming. It really adds to the depth of conversation and the things that you have to contribute. So thank you so much for participating today. And we're gonna move on to our next session here. And so, yes, we'll go ahead and say goodbye to you, and we'll see you next time, hopefully in person.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
Thanks,
thank
everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we are just 5 after the top of the hour. I'm thinking that we could maybe use a little bio break and stretch a little bit. So what do you think? Do you think 5 minutes is enough time to accomplish?
I think 5 minutes would be perfect.
Okay, so we will say 10 after-ish, 11 now, and we'll get back to it. We just need to refresh our bodies and brains and get a glass of water. All right, we'll see you in just a few minutes. Never seems like 5 minutes is enough. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Oh, I forgot to pause the recording. Sorry, Kelly, that's going to mean more editing on your part. Oopsie. So many things to remember. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. People can just join us when they are able. So we are going to jump into some of the same ideas that we started off with in our roundtable. How are we responding to what we're calling a new normal, So what does a new normal even mean? How do we start to conceive of the idea? The world has changed so much during the pandemic. So yeah, how does that relate to us as support group leaders, and how do we respond? What does the future hold? Can we get back to some semblance of life as it was, or should we even try to? You know, there have been a lot of, you know, thoughts and lectures and, you know, so much has come out of this. We have a lot to think about. Priorities have shifted, haven't they? So I wanted to share a quote with you, Charles Eisenstein, who's I kind of consider a modern day philosopher of sorts. He says that we sense that normal isn't coming back, that we are being born into a new normal, a new kind of society, a new relationship to the earth, a new experience of being human. So I'm, you know, curious if that is resonating with any of you. You know, with each passing day, we're acknowledging that this era, this COVID era, is bringing about permanent changes to society, to business, the way we live our lives, all of it. And so, you know, what does that mean for us specifically in our movement disorder world? So I just have in quotes here different ways people are talking about this, depending on which lens they're looking at it through. And, you know, whether it be personal perspectives or political, social perspectives. So, you know, some say that we shouldn't even try we shouldn't use the word or the phrase new normal, because normal didn't work very well, you know, for a lot of people in the world. So why would we even want to go back to the way things were? So that's a whole perspective. So they like to use the phrase a new paradigm. We need to shift everything. We need to improve things. We need to turn things on their head and like not just try to go back to the way things were. We need to make lots of changes to help more people who are disenfranchised, you know, underserved, underseen, whatever you want to say. So just to keep that in mind. And so as we talk about silver linings and things, how can we look at the needs of our people in our support groups specifically? How can we change our paradigm for them? The phrase next normal seems to be what's commonly used in the business world for whatever reason. I just have noticed that when I've done my research, they like to say it next normal. I just think it's funny, the new abnormal. There's never really been normal before. What does that mean? And then I have to throw in there, no one is normal, right? That's a tote bag that I've seen. You know, nobody's normal. So that makes us all unique and part of it all. So talking about the pandemic, we got into some of this with our breakout rooms. So the challenges of the pandemic for the movement disorder community as a whole. I just wanted to see if there are any things that we did not touch on that you think we might address in regards to specific challenges. And it looks like Lauren has raised her hand. Yes.
One thing I'm noticing, I just started noticing it recently, that I don't think it's been addressed, is I think maybe there's a complacency now. I see that as things are starting to open up, not everyone wants to participate, and it's easier to do things from home. It's easier, rather than getting out of the house, to just exercise at home, when it may actually, the social connection is so important, and it's probably better for everybody, not just people with Parkinson's. But I think that we might have to push a little harder to get people to get out the door. I know some people can't do it, and I know the virtual thing has a big benefit for some people, but I do think there's some people that are so used to doing things at home now that it's just the way it is.
Right.
Something to consider.
Very good point, Lauren. We at PMD Alliance have called that home habituation. People are habituated to just doing things from home. You don't even have to put pants on. I mean, it's like, you know, the apathy, especially when we're talking about movement disorders, that is, you know, something to keep in mind, and people can like fall into that complacency area where they're just like, I don't have to try. I don't need to. And you know, we know intellectually that that's not good for us, right? It's not good for anyone to separate themselves from their friends and society, and just being out in the world and interacting with people and talking, because there are ramifications to that. People stop communicating. Your brain isn't working in the same way. It's just not good. So thank you for bringing that up. And I agree. We do have some in-person events, a few of them around the country right now from PMD Alliance, and it's very hard to get people to come out. We're begging people to show up to these things, and they're outdoors, a lot of them, so they're safe and masked and the whole thing. But people they're not interested. So thanks for bringing that up. That's important.
Why do you think people are not interested? And I ask the question because we may have some similar issues that could use some similar solutions.
Well, our local expert, Rachel Steinberg, she is the one who's on the phone with a lot of folks and asking them questions. So do you have any takeaways yet?
Well, it's hard to reach people anymore these days. Too many people aren't answering calls or calling back. And I've been finding we're trying to reach out to people in the surrounding areas where our live events are. And if they're, over 20 miles out or, further out than that, they're not coming out. They don't want to drive in traffic. And, I think it is a bit of that comfort level of sort of this Delta variant coming back and people unknowing, what's happening in the world. But it's hard to reach out and touch people these days. I feel like people are communicating on email. I called people texted me back. So it's just a shift in how communication is working, I think.
Good point. Good point. I see that. Let's hear from Judy and then Edna.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I think it's a safety factor. I think honestly, I can tell you that's what people are saying to me. And personally, I'm one of those people. I have grandchildren that are unvaccinated. I have a pregnant daughter who, although she's vaccinated, is still at high risk. And I'm not interested. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going back to work. I am officially, retired at this point. And when I talk to people, they are not interested in taking a chance because in some communities, we're very fortunate in Los Angeles. The mask mandate has been great. People are vaccinated. California's in really good shape. But if you go to other parts of California, like we went for a few days to San Clemente over the summer, and I can tell you they were not wearing masks in San Clemente. So we were not comfortable walking around in that darling little community because people were not wearing masks. It did not feel safe or comfortable for us. So I think, until there's really a sense that people feel that they're safe and there's less risk to it, I don't think you're going to get people to come out. And I've heard people that do not have Parkinson's, people that would never have done home delivery and, wanted to get control freak people, friends, that are control freaks that are saying to me, I will never walk back into a grocery store. Why should I? This is so convenient. So what's happened is this sort of Gen X millennial mentality has certainly trickled up to the older generations who are baby boomers. And they don't feel the need to really go somewhere. They miss going out to dinner, but now they can get anything delivered from any restaurant at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And they will see their friends in a small pod maybe. But I think that everyone has rethought how they want to live their life now. It's a very different way of looking at life now. It has changed, and we have to accommodate. We have to really transfer our thinking as to how we deal with that quality. There
Mm.
still are people that are very shut in and don't
Right.
have that interaction, but a lot of people don't want to go out.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Seen that too.
the irony is beautiful of having to be the champions of wearing a mask and now having to be the champions of not wearing a mask, essentially.
I mean, I think there's some very simple issues here that take place with just philosophy. What is a person's philosophy on the variant, and what is a person's philosophy on the COVID? And there's one of my children feels that there's certain risks that he's willing to take, and another child is going, I'm not willing to take any risk.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and as a parent with adult children, then you have to sort of rethink it. So it's affecting our families in such different ways than we ever thought we would have to look at it.
Right.
And I think it's not just here in California. I think it's everywhere. And I think this
Absolutely.
is what's impacting every community on every
sure.
level.
For sure.
That's why restaurants can't get people to come back to work.
Yes, or maybe one of the reasons, for
One
sure.
of the reasons is the risk benefit,
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for bringing that up. And let's see. I had a thought. Oh, what I was just going to say is that we don't even know the long-term effects of what that's going to do, though. Like, people think they're safe and they're being healthier, but in the long run, if they're not interacting, these are questions we don't have any answers to yet. But we are, of course, a social species, and we require that interaction for our mental well-being. So at what point is staying home all the time gonna start backfiring? Yeah, we just have to figure it out as we go. And I see, let's actually hear from Edna, and then we'll go to David, please.
I think it's going to take a lot of patience within the Parkinson's community to deal with the different ideas that people have about us. On the last Zoom we had before we did meet in person, when we were talking about meeting in person, the church where we meet required that we wear masks. And so we talked about that on the meeting, and one of the gentlemen who's a care partner literally said, "You're all a bunch of sissies." So that was like, whoa, right? And so we have to deal with different opinions, different comfort levels. And we have to respect that, but I have found also that as we emerge, and like we did have the meeting in person, I found that I haven't talked that much in a really long time. I was exhausted by the end of the meeting because I think me personally, and I'm sure other people, we require some re-socialization, like the noise level. Even like John and I went somewhere, and then the noise level was like, oh my gosh, like we haven't had noise for a year and a half.
Yeah, the sensory, bombardment
The
that you
sensory
experience.
bombardment, and just being like close to too many people, the space issue, the mask issue. I mean, it just takes a lot of patience, and everybody's going to be different. And, when we're in a support group meeting, then we have to make allowances, but, rules are rules. And if the place requires masks, it requires masks, but just different attitudes. And yeah, it's just going to be a little bit of a curve.
Absolutely. Patience and grace.
Yeah.
And maybe when people don't respond as well as we would like them to, or it's just, not easy, that we are, like you said, more patient with that.
Nobody actually responded to the gentleman who called us all sissies. We didn't know what to say to him. But,
just stunned, right?
Yeah, we were stunned. So,
Oof, wow, that's a lot. Thank you, Edna. David, did you want to say something? And then Nancy?
Yeah, just to build off of what Edna just said, that patience for sure. And this isn't.
Up, you're muted again.
Get off. Sorry, it's not going to be a new normal or a next normal. It's going to be more like a surfing to, waves of what's happening next. And we just have to forgive ourselves for making some mistakes along the way, which hopefully we'll learn from and figure out new ways of interacting with each other. I mean, our care partner groups are just online now, are just determined. We don't want to go back to in person. But the point about staying at home too much is real. We have to get out and be interacting with people. So it's that wave particle duality, maybe a little bit, if you want to think in a physics kind of way, that we're going to have to just have some patience, as Edna said, and expect this to be an evolution. And it's okay.
And it's okay. It has to be okay. It's the only way. Right. And so we as humans, I have problems with uncertainty. I don't know about you, but we're now facing it more than ever. And so just finding peace with that and then being able to adapt and adjust.
I want to know how many people understood David's wave particle duality. He just seemed to kind of roll off his tongue as if.
I can imagine.
We got the gist. We got the gist.
It's a tiny thing that's sort of like the particle. That's sort of a moment in time. But learn from that, and you find out, oh, this worked okay, but actually, if we do this, it sort of slides along. And where we are going to be in January may be different than where we are in April, where we are in July, where we are in October. And actually, that's kind of exciting. It keeps things fresh, and we should be adapting in general. That's also a human trait.
I'm totally jazzed by the fact that we have the opportunity here to do a complete redo, completely redo this, and taking into account all the things that have succeeded and failed.
And some things are going to take a whole lot of work, unfortunately. And
how many chances do you
but we'll get through it.
How many chances do you ever get to completely redo everything that you stand for?
Yes, lots of opportunity for reinvention. It's a lot of energy, and some people feel like they don't have it. So you all have a lot of energy, I can tell, and it's the lens through which you're looking at a challenge, and it's all perspective. So that's very inspiring. I would like to hear from Debbie, and then Chris, we will hear from after Debbie.
It's very interesting. I have the same view as all of you, yet my Parkinson's support group wants to get together. They want to meet in the park. They said, if it's raining, are we still going to have our meeting? And I go, no. I mean, so it's very interesting that I'm hearing from you guys, because I feel that way. I have learned to redo my life. And so the South Bay of Los Angeles, they want to get together. They just have missed it so much. And the energy we bring to our meetings is what they want to see. They want that back. And sometimes I have to be the heavy. I mean, I had to in August because it was so hot. I said, we can't meet in the park. It's too hot. And yet, we've met the last couple of months and they're concerned about their Christmas party in December. And I go, I don't know. We'll just take it 1 week at a time at this point.
1 week at a time.
I feel that, they want me to put it together. And that I think is important. They want to go back and find what the new norm is. Yes. Do I like going to a supermarket? I'm usually there at 7:30 in the morning, and I don't go on weekends. So, I mean, that's who I am. But it's just interesting listening to everybody else saying, well, people are happy with Zoom, and yet my people aren't. So it's a very interesting time. I've used Shannon, the color book, having them draw pictures and stuff like that, which I've gotten from PMD Alliance. And I've used crossword puzzles like we do, and they love it. It's like, what are we going to do this time, Debbie? And I have to go, I got to think now. I mean,
Keep it fresh.
Exactly.
That's great.
The poetry is not going to fly. I can tell you that much.
The what's not going to fly?
The poetry.
The poetry. You never know. It's really an engaging activity. I'd put it out there still.
Well, I'll put it out, obviously.
Thank you, Debbie. So I think we'll hear from Chris and then Nancy and Judy, and then I think we have to move forward.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. I wanted to relate back a conversation that we had when all of the independent Parkinson's associations met last week that I mentioned earlier. And we kind of discussed the same things, the new normal, new paradigm, and so forth. And, we were all talking, said a lot of the same things that we've been saying now. But then one person said something, and we all know this, we've done this before, but they said that in view of all this, what they did was they reconstituted and they got all their board members to do this. All the phone numbers that they had of every person that used to attend meetings or hadn't been heard from, and so they went ahead and called them. And they said the outpouring was incredible from the calls. And they said it was kind of superseded whether or not you have a support group meeting or not, or whether you do it virtually or in person. But they said there was incredible value just in revisiting people on a one-to-one basis. And I think that's still very, very important. So I just wanted to chip that in for whatever it's worth.
That's great. Thanks, Chris. Yeah. The phone tree option. So even if it's not one leader making every phone call, like if you have a group of people who you can split your list up. And so it's, everyone calls 5 people or 10 people, however many people you have to reach. But yes, that is so important. We had done that as well in our organization. We I don't know how many hundreds of calls were made to folks in our community. So it does go a long way. And then, like here we are still in the midst of it. So do we do it again? Like at what point do you go back to that? And some people aren't on Zoom at all, So thanks for bringing that up. Good point.
Sure.
Nancy.
The phone tree concept is actually one that our board put into effect right when we went into sheltering in, and the board members each have a group of people that they call monthly. So that is something. Thank you, Chris, for bringing that up. I think in our role as support group leaders, facilitators, co-conveners, however we define ourselves, I think we have a responsibility to provide true leadership with regards to this whole issue of live versus Zoom. For me, I'm in a situation where we have a board and we made the decision to go live with one group that eventually will go back. We have another group that said we never want to go live. We really like it virtual. And in fact, I have 2 groups that want to stay virtual, plus a speaker series that wants to stay virtual. And so we did that. And then based on the variant activity at the time, the board came back and went, no, we need to go back to sheltering in. And we need to stay that way. We'll revisit it next year. It was fascinating to me, the number of people who reached out to me. Often people with Parkinson's with co-concurring disorders who said, thank you. Thank you so much for taking that stand. They were not going to say it themselves, but the message was, thank you for taking a stand and protecting me. And I hadn't even thought about it that way at the time.
Right.
And so I will just say, I think we have a responsibility. And yes, there are different views. I think I would say our group tends to err on the side of caution. But we're dealing not only with a group that by virtue of age is at greater risk, but by virtue of Parkinson's is at even greater risk, and comorbidity is even greater risk. And so, I'm grateful that I have a board and some of the people have medical backgrounds, and then I have consulted with physicians who, it was interesting, there was no question in their mind as to what they would do. So it is difficult. Yeah, we'd like to be back right what we were doing in July when we met live. But we learned from that and decided we need to be safe above all. And that comment about missing some of those activities, in my situation, our situation with John, our normal is very different because John is advanced. And so we've already gone through transitions. And I remember seeing somebody who wrote a letter into the New York Times, and this was early on during the pandemic, and said, I'm listening to everybody whining and complaining, but God, to me, this isn't that big an issue because and she was in a situation similar. And she said, you know, throughout our lives, we're going to be challenged by change. It's not whether we have the change or not, it's how we choose to handle that change in the moment. So that's just my 2 cents worth for the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Responsibility is a big one, isn't it? And as far as PMD Alliance is concerned, we have a medical advisory committee. And so we leave it to them. You know, they make our decisions. It's not like one person is saying, calling the shots. It's like, nope, we're putting this in the hands of the experts and they're going to tell us what we do. And that kind of relieves some of that pressure. And so it sounds like you're doing a similar thing with the board. Thanks for bringing that up. I think Judy had her hand up. There she is. No, yeah, you're good. Okay. All right. Thanks for all that. That was really rich discussion, and we are running a little short on time, but that's okay because we have a lot of things that were, you know, important to get out and say. So let's see here. I'll just quickly, we already talked about silver linings. Here's a list for you of things that from in the movement disorder community, things that are coming out of COVID and how we can look at it in that positive light. So again, another quote about, you know, normality. We have a normal as you move outside of your comfort zone. So comfort zones are different for all of us. What was once the unknown and frightening becomes your new normal. Right. So that's just a fact. It's just a fact of life, and many different scenarios that can be true. I wanted to share with you this diagram here from the National Wellness Institute. They have great resources. I love them. Great webinars. And I just thought this was fascinating. This idea of moving from fear on one end of a spectrum, a fear zone mentality, into learning zone, into growth zone. And so during COVID, you know, you might recognize some of these behaviors, thought patterns, what have you, either in yourself or people you know, even strangers, and some things might be surprising to you, ways people can act when they're in fear mode. You know, it's the hoarding of the toilet paper. That's where we're at with that. You know, any bad news that comes, you're going to forward it to everyone you know, and spreading, you know, maybe things that aren't quite true or untested. So that's fear zone, complaining all the time, transmitting your fear to other people. Learning zone. So we're getting somewhere. We're pulling out of that fear. So you're not necessarily watching the news all day long and taking in things that aren't going to be helpful, or eating badly, or addictions to alcohol or whatever it might be. You're starting to be more self-aware. You're verifying information, acknowledging that most people are really trying to do their best, even though it doesn't always come across, but just starting to come out of that fear into learning zone. And then growth zone is really where we want to be heading into. So finding purpose, using your skills to serve the community, to serve your family, living in the present, showing gratitude, finding ways to adapt in that positive way, practicing patience and calmness, all of these things that we've been talking about. So these are just ways to start thinking about. These zones are where you are, we are, and then also your support group members. So just thinking of it in that context, and realizing that people also move from one zone to another, depending on what happens and what news comes down the pipeline that day. And so just to sort of realize, okay, this is a real thing. Yes, Nancy.
I think this can be applied independent of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember having a speaker series that was on psychosis. And 6 weeks after the presentation, a person with Parkinson's emailed me and said, "You really scared me. I want you to know I'm really mad at you. Why did you do that? I'm not sure I ever want to come back to a group again." He now does participate, but I had to meet him where he was. It was important in my role, and then help him move through that fear to get to the point of, where's that coming from? And in my role, I see it important to help you fill that bag with information so that as you're on that hike and you don't know what kind of hike you've got ahead of you, Whitney or Everest or something in between, you've got the information available because you've experienced it ahead of time. And it was a process. It was definitely a process. I was fascinated that he took 6 weeks. That told me a lot. He must have thought about that for a long time. But the fact that he reached out was huge.
Right.
Yes, he was in that fear spot, but now he's gone to publish a book of poems about moving through the stages of, from grief to acceptance. But as I saw that, I thought, oh, this isn't just now. This is us. This is the diagnosis and moving through as well. You could apply that across the board. So thank you. I really like that.
Sure. Yeah, it's the human condition, right? Yeah, at all stages of life. And so just being aware of that is really helpful. But yeah, we might sometimes have to play counselor more than we realize in our role sometimes. And so just it takes some finesse, absolutely. But yes, information is the bottom line. Yeah. So lots of words on this slide. I did that intentionally so that when you take this away as a PDF, it's all there for you. I'm not going to go through every bullet because we are running a little short on time, but I just wanted to, again, kind of some of these indicators of where people might be and what they might be experiencing, thinking when they're in each of these zones. So, from the fear to the learning zone, getting, pulling out of that fear a little bit. And then this is, again, where we want to be most of the time, if we can. And we know as human beings, we're going to be shifting often. So this, again, will be provided to you after the fact, so you can read through all of those. And we were going to do a little poll. Maybe we'll just do it by hands. Well, let's not. I was going to ask if anyone feels like they know that they're in fear, they know they're in learning and growth. So it's a little bit more anonymous when you do it in a poll, but I think I'm just going to pass over that for now. We know each of us in our own minds where we are, and we can move forward with that. So again, another wordy slide, but these are little tactics, ways that you and your group members can move forward through those zones, getting yourself out of that. So, the gratitude journal, helping people, talking to friends and family often. Maybe you're not out in total, public, but encouraging people to keep communicating with their loved ones and people close to them in their small pods so that they are with people, finding purpose, staying active, all of these things. I'm not going to go through them all because we have a little bit more to do for the last 15 minutes. So again, this will be available. Hopefully it's helpful. Things that you can maybe talk to your group members about and just make them a little more aware. Self-aware of where they might be on this spectrum. Okay. If you have your packet, this was the first page on your printed materials. If you don't have the packet, no problem, just a piece of paper would do. And I am going to, let's see, I need to give you remote control. Miss Rachel. And so we only have 15 minutes, which is quick, but we will at least get the premise of what this tool offers us. So Rachel, there we go.
So I'm going to sort of talk about it, but then I want you to also think about this being a useful tool to use during your support group with your support group. So this activity, do I have access yet?
Yes, I think so. Yep. It's controlling screen. Go ahead and there you go.
Okay. So if everybody could take either the piece of paper that they printed out or a blank piece of paper. And what we want you to do is draw a line smack dab through the middle of the paper horizontally, okay? Now you've got a space above the line and space below the line. So this activity is to sort of get us thinking about the things that are important and the things that maybe could be let go, we can let go of. So above the line, we're to write down aspects of our life that give us energy, things that we want to keep in our lives. Maybe they are our goals. Maybe it is reading. Maybe it is particular friends that you've got that you definitely feel are so important to you, and activities. So take a little bit of time to kind of write a couple words of good things above the line. The next thing to do is below the line, you're going to be kind of writing down the things in your life that drain you, that take your energy away. It could be people in your life that are draining. It could be activities in your life that are draining. And so at this point of the practice, we would be on to the next slide, paying attention to the things that are closest to the line. So when you do this exercise again, maybe it will be easier for you to sort of calculate these things, but the things that are most important float to the top. The things that are least important float to the bottom. But then those things that linger around that line are going to be maybe things that you need to do, that need to get done, that you don't love doing, but they still need to get done. Or maybe it's something like, to put it in a support group thought, is there something that is going on that you've always done in your support group that maybe doesn't feel so important anymore? I know a lot of the support group leaders that we've talked to felt that maybe the refreshments could go away. You know, they're great, but it means that somebody needs to do that every week, and it's just a job that maybe could fall by the wayside and wouldn't really affect the positivity or how great the support group is still. So in this particular group, I have heard that the refreshments might be important to some of you. So maybe those are above the line. And so you kind of just want to think about these things in your own life, because you don't want to be wasting your energy on things that really are no longer important. But here's an activity that you can really do with your group. So when you are getting back together, when you're having these meetings about, okay, are we going back in person? How are we going to do that? This is an activity that people can participate in all together and share their feedback about the things that they find maybe are important and still need to be kept in versus things that are no longer important. So I know that, you know, a lot of the silver linings that we found were that Zoom was so helpful for the people that were rural, that were further away. You still want to incorporate those people. You don't want to let those people fall off the wayside. So maybe these Zoom calls stay, and maybe you meet in person once a month, and then you've got your calls, Zoom calls 3 times a month. Just different ways to think about the dynamics of your group and how important things used to be that maybe aren't anymore after this whole pandemic and social isolation and things like that. So this is an activity that I think people could do personally, but then I think it's also something that we can do as facilitators to kind of gather your group and get input from everybody. So that, I think I covered it all very, very quickly, and I'm sorry if I did, but it's information that will be in the packet, or the above the line, below the line is in the packet. And I think it's a pretty simple concept to remember and utilize. And I hope everybody can and does.
I think it's a really good check-in exercise. It's something you can do every 6 months, once a year. It's just a way to be like, how am I feeling now? What's changed in my life? Therefore, what new choices do I need to start making? And then doing it for yourself, and then separately doing it for your group. So I just, I enjoy that exercise quite a bit. Hopefully that'll be useful for you. You could even offer it to your support group members if that resonates with you at all. So yes, we zipped through the rest of our material today. Hopefully that wasn't a bombardment. But any thoughts as we wrap up the last couple of minutes before we say goodbye for the evening?
It's excellent.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to say
Thank you
yes.
so much.
want
It's just excellent.
The second, what Nancy's saying, you guys are the best. You're the best of the best.
Right.
And that spans a lot of space. So you should recognize in yourselves what you're doing for people.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I mean, we wouldn't be
and
here
right back
without
at you. Yeah, I think
yeah, we
right
wouldn't have a
back at you.
purpose. So, I mean, we're here because you are here and you showed up, and that means the world, because you're doing this for your community. And otherwise, yeah, people are out on their own and not, sometimes they don't have anywhere to go. So, yes, we wish we had hundreds of people like you that we could be interacting with. It's a tough subset, support group leaders of movement disorder support groups. Yes, it's very, very small. But yeah, just really appreciate you being here today and all of the contributions. I know it's long to be sitting for 3 hours, so I recognize that. And just remember, you can always get up, do what you need to do. We'll have the same thing tomorrow, 3 hours in the morning, bright and early for you. And yes, any questions, last comments before we say goodbye? All right. Well, thank you all so much. Get some rest, get a nice dinner, and yeah, see you bright and early. Bring your coffee.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great
Thank
evening.
you.
See you tomorrow.
So much. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Hey, Shannon,
Yes,
could you stay on just for a second with me for a moment?
absolutely.
Good, thanks.
Sure.
Good.
Hold on.
There. I obviously haven't been able to be involved in everything today. I had, I got other and all that, but I just wanted to commend you. I think what you've done is awesome. Your style is perfect, so I really, really appreciate what you've been doing.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. So I will catch up tomorrow. I'll be in and out, but just wanted you to know that, okay?
I'm so glad that you were able to come when you could come, and that you've been able to contribute. And yes, that we could actually meet. I've heard your name, and of course we haven't met before. So it's very nice to see a face to the name and connect in this way. So
yeah, me too. All right. Thanks.
I appreciate the comments. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.